to strap in and get ready. The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming, bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Mattrix, and Whisperer.
G'day everybody, welcome back. You're watching another Insight NRL show. The Supercoach app has officially opened as of today, and you can hear the fingers of people changing their teams all over the country. I'm the Supercoach Brain, joined by the Supercoach Mattrix and the Supercoach Whisperer. Josh, how many times have you changed your team since your team preview episode came out about 48 hours ago?
Well, we did it at the end of your team reveal. We made one change there, and that was on the same night.
Yep.
You then talked me into Kilmatualogu at about 11:30, an hour after we finished recording. So we've got two in the same day, and then a couple more since then. So definitely tinkering in full effect. But there is one good way to see all the tinkering. Mm-hmm. Where can we find that?
We'll be finding it in the Patreon. So obviously, if you're a member of the Patreon, you'd know what our teams look like by now. And if you're not, then you can find out by becoming a member. And you can listen to this lovely American man tell you why.
Want to take your Supercoach game to the next level? Inside Fantasy Sports are bringing you exclusive content all year round, such as weekly expert Q&As, team, trade, and captaincy advice, statistical deep dives, priority podcast questions, and tons more. So what are you waiting for? Get full access to the experts. Go to patreon.com/Insight Fantasy Sports and subscribe to Insight Unlimited today.
It's the greatest use of company funds we ever had.
Mattrix. Sitting over there in the back of the room. How are you, mate? You've made probably as many changes as us, haven't you, over the last couple of days?
Yeah, look, I've changed my Supercoach team more times than I've changed undies, and that's a lot. I don't need to really delve into how often I change undies, but I tell you what, you're in the backyard and the kids throw mud at you. You change your undies. I tell you what, there's a lot of undies getting changed here, but the Supercoach team's in full effect. It's getting changed a lot as well.
Can we go back to the fact that when your kids throw mud at you, you have to change your undies? Are you just wearing undies in the backyard? Like no pants over the top?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, good.
My neighbours basically subscribe to my OnlyFans. I keep wondering why there's money in the mailbox.
Yeah, good. Lucky we're not talking about that tonight. We are here, though, to talk about, obviously, the fun stuff that we've got access to now that the Supercoach app is open, and that is ownership. Talking about the top 10 players. We're going to give our opinion on the top 10 most owned players, and we're going to give you two pods under 10% owned each that we're liking at the moment, that we're keeping a very close eye on throughout the preseason. But before we jump into that, please hit like, please hit subscribe. It helps support the show. We would really appreciate that. And if you're listening to us on audio, please hit that follow button and leave us a 5-star review. Now, we do have some cash leagues opening up, but even more importantly, a league that doesn't cost any cash whatsoever is the Unlimited League from Insight. And the code is 211518. That's 211518 for you audio listeners. It's on the screen for you YouTube watchers, and that is the league where you can win a standard squeeze prize pack every single week as the top scorer. So jump on in that. I think we've already got about 250 people in that league already, so it's going to be a very competitive one. Get on in, take us on.
I should probably join it.
Probably should. We're going to have 251 more after this episode, thanks to Mattrix. So shout out to him. And for cash leagues, we're going to be filling them in the Discord, and I know Josh has his own that he's filling as well. So hop in the DMs there either side, and we'll look after you there. But boys, we're here to talk about ownership here. So what we'll do is we'll bring it up on the screen very quickly so that everyone can see these top 10 most owned players, and we'll give our opinions, have a bit of a chat about these guys. Josh, bit of an obvious one to start. Most owned, 54.6%. Sandon Smith gets the 5'8" role. We'd like to think at the Sydney Roosters to kickstart the season. Maybe gets the goal kicking as well. Probably a lock of a pick.
Yeah, I mean, we can see they're just under the number as well. So it looks like there's about 23,000 active players right now. That's going to increase by probably 8 times between now and the start of round 1. So we'll increase that. So I think as more people play the game, Sandon Smith's average will increase. 54% seems way too low, but 237K, 5/8 for the Roosters, most likely goal kicking. Bit of a no-brainer. Like you said, draw is a bit tough to start the season. So if you have some ways to potentially not have that purple highlight around him, that would be fantastic. But if you have to start him, you can't be too upset with a goal kicker from the Roosters. Sam Walker, in his debut season, averaged, I think, just below 60. Obviously, Sandon Smith's been around a little bit longer as well. I don't expect anywhere near that 60 range. But, boys, if we're getting 47 to 51 points out of Sandon Smith, I'd be a very, very happy camper.
Especially at the price, Mattrix. He's obviously coming in pretty cheap at 23 break even to start the season. He could probably cruise through a game and make us money pretty comfortably at nearly bottom dollar this year.
Yeah, and the Roosters are good. Like, it's hard to open the app and look at his average, and obviously that's what it's priced on. But he played 2 80-minute games last year, scored 88 and scored 51. I just think the Roosters are a good side, and you throw somebody in that his job security is, I would say, very secure for the first 10 weeks. Goal kicking, he's going to cover his price in himself. Honestly, I think the value is at hooker, though. As much as if he was halfback only, I think I would still have him in my side. I think, at hooker, it is a slam dunk. I will play him at hooker, to be completely honest. I'll probably nearly start him at hooker.
Yeah, if you got the double cheapy hooker, you wouldn't be upset with having to start him or rely on him. I know people are looking at Mamazelis as well, who's going to be, I'm assuming, on this list. I haven't looked at it too deeply, but I'm sure we'll be talking about him. But yeah, there's a reason he's top owned at 54.6%. I think, Josh, you had the stats on the team picker ownership, and Iongi was 64%, and it seems like he's dropped off a little bit since the app opened.
Yeah, I would just put that down to people not updating their teams yet. People probably made accounts and then not sent their teams across. But you've put me on the spot a little bit, just trying to do some quick
I think people are being, while you're looking at that, I think people are just being influenced by big podcasters not having in these teams.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so ownerships were down across the board. We saw Tino was the top owned pre-team picker, being out officially at 75%, Iongi at 63. Terrell May next man on the list at 61. So ownership is down across the board. I expect it to balance out once players have opened the app.
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, it looks like there's less than 20,000 people, and we know NRL Supercoach usually starts around the 150,000 people when the round 1 kicks off. So, boys, Terrell May, there really isn't much point talking about Terrell May, is there? We spoke on the other podcast, Mattrix, that he should be 100% owned, and he's at 52.8. What do you reckon, prediction-wise, he is going to reach as a peak come round 1?
82% owned.
Whew. Nah, that's way overs. No, when's the last time we've had an 82% owned player start the season, Josh?
Mate, when was the last time that you had a PPM beast go to, sorry boys, a shit team that he averaged 45 minutes for and he's going to average 60? I don't know if enough people look at those stats. He should play 58 minutes, right? 55 to 58 minutes. He's going to have to with that pack you've got.
Yeah, no, I would agree. To answer your question, I think off the top of my head, probably Suwali when he was bottom dollar when he started for the Roosters, but that was it. Look, I'm more in the, I would say 72, 73%. I think that's probably a bit more. But I also think, as much as we joke about being influenced by big podcasters, I think we do have a little bit of sway. I think as people start to devour more preseason content, they'll hear not only the three of us, but probably every other podcast under the sun froth over Terrell May, and for good reason. So I would imagine that does creep up to, I would say 73, 74%.
Yeah, I like it. I'm gonna say still. I'm gonna get spicy and say sub 70% owned. I mean, I think we live in a bit of a Supercoach bubble, don't we? On Twitter, on X, on social media, a lot of people.
Is it just because of the logo, the team's logo that's next to his name? Do you reckon that's the reason why it would be?
No. Not really. I mean, it could be for other people. Yeah, for us, we're looking at it going, well, he's going to get more opportunity and more minutes on a bad team.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, maybe the Tigers logo next to his name is deterring people from buying him. Who knows? But he's an absolute lock in all of our teams. If you watch the last few episodes of our teams being released, now Robert Toya is the third on the list. 50.8% own. More than half of super coaches at the moment that have opened the app have him in their team for good reason. Absolute basement price, 198K. Tip to be we're in opposed sessions at the moment. Josh, he's looking like he's lining up in centre with the ones at the moment.
Yeah. Yes. It's just lining up with the ones. Seems like a battle on the wings there. Seems like he's got a place locked in. Played really well for the Bears last year during New South Wales Cup, and looks like he's being elevated to that side with Joe Manu and Joseph Swaliti. Leaving the Chooks leaves 2 spots open. Obviously, you've got the other one being battled out by Billy Smith and Mark Nangatwitwaze. So it's going to be an interesting preseason as to how we go with that one. But yeah, pretty much no brainer here. I'm surprised it's as low as it is. Probably due to people just maybe not knowing who he is. I think as preseason content ramps up and more's consumed, then that ownership will rise and probably won't reach Joseph Swaliti heights, but it might go close.
Yeah, if he gets named round 1, we're going to see that skyrocket, I would naturally assume. People are looking for those bottom dollar cheapies the Vegas games are going to be key here, but yeah, he's going to be very well owned if he does start. Isaiah Iongi is the guy that is tearing up the Supercoach world online at the moment. You either are an Iongi owner or you're not. And it seems like there is more people that have opened the app and chosen not to own him than there are that own him right now at 46.6%, fourth most owned player. It's a genuine structured tactic, isn't it, Mattrix, to go, I'm going to go with 3 gun fullbacks. If he was a center wing, he'd be 100% owned, but he's not. He's fullback only. So is that the reasoning there, you reckon?
Well, when I first heard about this flex position, I thought, great, this is going to give me a situation to add. Like maybe when a halfback cheapie or a fullback cheapie comes in, I can add them. But the more I look at it, the more I think, like, you still need to get points on the board. So, yeah, again, if he was centre wing eligible, which, of course, we all know you've got 7 spots, I would 100% own him. But I'm just looking to abuse, I suppose, those primos to try and get a head start on all the people that own Iongi. Like, even if Iongi scores 37 points per game, and yes, he's going to make money at that, which I don't know what you guys have him at, but I probably have him at 40 points per game, right?
I reckon that's a bit. I'd probably closer to 50 than 40 personally.
Yeah,
I think high 40s would be his floor, just based on the work rate that he has. He's a good player. He's going to have a lot of work to do out the back there for the Eels if they keep the same structure they had through Gutho last year. But for me, Josh, probably a better question for you. It's points versus cash, isn't it? And we know that points come from your fullbacks predominantly, and you make your cash elsewhere. In previous years, it's kind of this tactic has flipped it on its head this year.
Yeah, I'm not for 1 minute saying that I'm not going to own Iongi, even for round 1. If we don't get the cheapies that we think we're going to get, then, team structures have to be changed, and Iongi then becomes an option. But right now, on the basis and the information that we have with the cheapies that we think we're going to be getting, I can't go near him with the upside that the guns have. And I think we spoke about this in, I believe, my team preview. There's so much merit in just picking up in round 3. People say, "Oh, you're wasting a trade." Sure, like we get 40 of the pricks. Like, of course I'll waste one if an obvious cheapie becomes a genuine option. Like, did people pick Jareem Buller when he was named for the Tigers back in round 16 in his debut season? No, like we waited and we picked him up when we knew what the role was like and what the production was going to be like. And I understand why people are picking him. We're not for 1 minute saying he's a bad pick. I just think with the way that fullbacks dominate Supercoach scoring, and especially with so many goal-kicking fullbacks available, like I just want to have 3 of those and pivot back to him if it goes wrong, rather than it going wrong by owning him and having to pull apart my side in round 3 to pick him up.
That's the key. Your whole structure, we spoke about this the other night, your whole structure is determined around Iongi being good. And if he isn't, who do you have to trade out? You have to trade out all these guns that you thought you had an advantage with to actually find enough cash to get up to one of these guns that we've already got. On the flip side, I understand why people are saying, if he goes well, then they're ahead. But are they really? when you look at the amount of points that Iongi's going to average, and if we say we're on the money at 48 to 50 or whatever that average ends up being over the first 2 games, he's got the Storm in round 1 and he does have the Tigers in round 2. So it's a bit of a mixed bag in the first couple of rounds before the bubble. And, how many more points is Trell, Ponga, Drinky, and all of the Turbo and all of these guys going to score than Iongi in the first fortnight?
That's the thing. Like Iongi kills it. He averages 65 across 2 weeks. If Latrell shits the bed, he averages 65 across 2 weeks. Like, we can just move. Like, I just think so much has to go right for Iongi to warrant outperforming these big guns. And don't get me wrong, his dollar per points is going to far exceed that, because even at 50, he's going to have great value. But it's a fine balance between cash and points. And I just think if we get enough cheapies elsewhere, then we can look to pivot and have 3 big boys at the back. And still fit in, cheapies elsewhere. Not for 1 minute saying all 3 of us are ruling him out, because if we come to round 1 and we get no cheapies, then of course we're going to have to pivot and bring him in, and the narrative shifts there. But right now, on the information that we have, I think much more can go wrong than it can go right now.
Yeah, it's so hard to get a 200k player up to a Ryan Pappenhausen at 600k in round 3. It's so much easier.
And he's not even like a premium Ryan Pappenhausen.
Yeah.
He's sort of that next tier down.
That's what I'm saying. Like, to get somebody that's serviceable. Like, if he comes out and scores 20 against Melbourne, like, honestly, guys, like, you've built yourself a hole. And it's so much easier just to downgrade. Think of all the things you can do with 500k if you go a Ryan Pappenhausen down to Iongi. You know what I mean? Like, that's 400k. That's all I'm saying. Do it in reverse.
Yeah, I think it's safer to go no Iongi, and if he kills it, bring him in, free up some cash, and then bolster your team elsewhere versus doing it the opposite way around. So I think we're on the same page with that. But again, it's going to split super coaches down the middle, I think, is do I buy Isaiah Iongi or not? But he is the 4th most owned. So let's move on to Nathan Cleary, 5th most owned. Look, for good reason. He's come back to training earlier than predicted off the back of that shoulder surgery. So positive news on the back of that. Should be good for round 1, Josh. Bit of a no-brainer pick again. Like, we're talking about the best halfback in the game here, aren't we?
Yeah, not much more to say, really. Jerome Luai leaves as well, so you would expect the hands to be on the pill much, much more for Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo and Dylan Edwards. But yeah, Cleary, I think, is going to be doing a lion's share of that, and almost foolproof. If Nico Hines didn't have Trindle next to him, we'd probably have another debate. But I just think the gap between him and the next best halfback is just so far bigger this year than what it was in previous years.
Agree, Matty?
I'm sitting on the fence a bit with Cleary, and it's only because at the start of last year, I said I don't really want these players that play in Vegas. I just feel like when a lot of those guys played in Vegas, their Supercoach stats were down, and it took a little bit to work their way up. Obviously, winning, they're going to go. Are they going to play the World Club Challenge and then go across to play in Vegas and then come back?
Pinned this year.
Yeah,
was it pinned completely? Was it?
Yeah, because then the Super League announced that they were going to have 2 Super League games in Vegas this year. I think so. No World Club Challenge.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be disrupted, and I will own Cleary whether I own him day 1 or not. I just do think there's an argument to not starting him round 1 against the Sharks is probably where I sit at. Like, Cleary, great, fantastic. We all found a way to have Nico and Cleary last year. How did it go? Yeah, I just think that there is an argument for not having Cleary.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm on the same page. I think Cleary for me is in my team, and I don't think I'm going to move him, to be honest.
You're going to be fighting an uphill battle to convince Braino and I not to have Cleary.
Yeah,
I like it though. Brings a different.
That's okay. I currently have him in my team. I currently have him in my starting halfback. But I reckon if Nico wasn't playing in Vegas, I would have Nico over Cleary. Not thinking I'm going to get more points, just maybe thinking I'm going to save a little bit, spend that money elsewhere. Maybe instead of having a 460k cheapie second row forward, I could have someone that's closer to a gun. So
good, bit of spice. Doesn't take us long to disagree, so that's good. We'll keep the ball rolling with Tino Fa'asort Mala'awi. Now, he's 531K. The appeal is there, 43%. Very, very cheap. When we're looking at his price, he's priced at a 52 off the back of losing 20% of his price from last year's injury. But he has a round one buy Mattrix. And I think that's probably the one thing deterring me is the fact you're spending 530K on a guy that gets you 0 points in round one. And if you did take an approach of leaving him, fading him, you can always buy him in round 4 because you get that extra week there due to the round one buy when he does actually end up changing in price. What are your thoughts on Tino at the moment?
He's currently in my team because I don't want to find the money to get him. I think, and it's probably from last year, the way I went double cheapy front row forward. You guys didn't rinse me, but you at least brought up the fact that I have always gone cheap at front row forward. And I think just being presented with a Tino Malawi that is 30K more expensive than a Jai Arrow, I just can't look past that. Whether it's missing him for 1 week, I can cop just playing a scrub for 1 week at front row forward and saving the trade at front row forward. I think I only want to make like 4 trades at front row forward all fucking year. Like I'm okay with having scrubs at front row forward because I want to abuse center wings being injured, getting 200K center wings, getting people that are running on a streak. I just think if I add Tino, I'll probably start him on the bench at second row forward and then move him into front row forward, play him every week after that. So,
do you agree, Josh?
Yeah, I'm unsure on Tino because I've got Terrell. As much as we joke at the start of the podcast about how much my team has tinkered, I haven't moved on Haas and May. I can be inclined to move on Haas if Corey Horsburgh starts, if Tomamone gets good minutes in the trials. Like if I can rely on
Naf White,
if I can rely on playing these guys for 1 week while Tino sits on the pine, then I can be tempted because I am saving some money there. But right now, I do want to see how he performs in the trials. I always like having more expensive people in my team and downgrading if I need to. So if Tino looks good in the trials, I'm more than happy to downgrade from Haas to Tino. I just want to see some more. We know that post return to performance is not the greatest with ACLs, especially with middle forwards. Pat Carrigan being the only exception to that rule. Regan Campbell-Gillard also signing Josiah Palahu, Moe Fodawaker as well. So there is some middles there at the Titans that can take a bit of the workload off Tino. Not ruling him out completely, not in my side. A guy that I am looking to fade round 1, but no guarantee that I will. Just need to see a bit more from him.
Yep. Fair call. Number 7 on the list, 41% owned, is Jackson Purdue. Obviously, a lot of news coming out of Cowboys land, and especially on media day and in opposed sessions at training, that Purdue seems to be winning the one of those edge spots, one of those center spots. Do you know what side he'd be on, Josh? Do you remember? I know you put a post up on it.
I do. Let's quickly solve for time. He will be playing on the left side, so it'd be the Murray Talongi, Jackson Purdue, Jeremiah Nanai, Tom Dearden side, which is the left side. That's just
the side I want him on.
Some scrimmages, yeah. So on that strike side with Dearden and Nanai, and Murray Talongi as well. So replacing Val Holmes by the looks of it.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be, obviously, with how relevant Val Holmes, and he's no Val Holmes Mattrix, but when you get a 250K guy that can fit into a role of a guy that's left and was so successful in that structure as well, like we know Dearden loves to throw a cutout ball. So he's going to be in the game there on the left edge, you'd like to think.
Yeah, I don't care. If they're under 400K and taking Val Holmes' position, I'm just locked in. And it's just, I like the Cowboys. I like the way that they play. That's conducive to Supercoach points. So, yeah, I'm all in on Jackson Purdue.
And Mattrix only likes the Cowboys.
Mattrix
only likes the Cowboys. Yeah. Mattrix only likes the Cowboys because the Dolphins are now in the comp as well. So he used to hate the Cowboys until the Finns have come in and taken over.
Man, honestly, the Titans are like the team that's at the kids' table. So I can't even they're not even like at a family gathering up here in Queensland. The Titans are at the kids' table.
What PNG then? Are they just not invited?
No, they're not invited. Newcastle's closer, to be honest. So yeah, like Titans I can't take seriously. I just when they win a game, I'm like, cool. But I always had this rivalry against the Cowboys growing up because, like, going to school, there was Broncos supporters, there was Cowboys supporters. That was all there was. There wasn't even really Titan supporters back then. But now that the Dolphins have come in locally, I like the way that this team's structured. And, like, maybe being so heavily on Supercoach, I love Scotty Drinkbolter when he's in fine form. Like, I love watching Ruben Cotter play Origin, but I tell you what, somebody that's defected from the Broncos and gone to Redcliffe, like Wayne Bennett, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, back in Sydney now, so you're all good. Jackson Perdue. If he's named, he'll be very popular. As is, if this man is named in the starting 13, Corey Horsburgh, we've spoken about him a little bit already, just on over 40% owned at the moment, 355k, dual position, front row forward, 2RF. In my team, as you can see on the screen, he'll probably stay there until Teamless Tuesday, and then we'll make a decision on what's going to happen there. You can't forget what he did 2 years ago. It's just about whether him and Ricky have mended fences, so to speak, Josh.
Yeah, also in my team, but yeah, definitely looking to see the kiss and make up from Ricky and Corey. It's if starting, has to be in your team, but the question then becomes: is he viable enough to run as a front row forward too? That's the main concern when it comes to Corey. But I mean, if he's starting, of course, even if he's off the bench, I'm not too sure Corey Horsburgh is a guy whose minutes are going to change too much, whether he wears 10 or 15 on his back. So.
Yeah.
Obviously, want the confirmation bias that he's starting, but not put off if he's off the bench either. And
for me, like I think when you see Morgan Smithies versus Corey Horsburgh very capable of wearing the 13 as well, depending on how they want to play it. If they want a little bit more attacking flair and a bit of impact, they're probably going to go to Horse over Morgan Smithies, the tackle bot. So, they've got a few. He provides so many more options, Mattrix, to the Raiders and Ricky Stewart, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Like, he's no Sam Hughes, but as a front row forward too, I think that you could go all right with Corey Horsburgh. Look, again, like, looks to getting named. You're right. I don't think he's a guy that comes in and plays 20 minutes off the bench. I think that he's a guy that will play minutes in this team if he's there. I just need to. You probably need to see him kiss and made up, though.
It's him or it's Josh Papali'i, and like. Josh probably is not playing big minutes, whether he's starting off the bench. So, and just on Morgan Smithies, until I see him put a grubber kick regather for a try in round 27, I don't want any bar of him. If I see Morgan Smithies start to do that, then by all means, let's reconvene.
Yep, fair call. Tom Trbojevic, number 9 on this list, 38.7% owned. Is he the first fullback that we've talked about so far, aside from Iongi? Yes, he is.
First primo fullback.
First primo fullback on the list here. People are just whacking the orange armband on him already, and January 20. So that's good to see. But 875k, 5 of his first 7 at 4 Pines Park. Josh, I think you spouted the numbers, so I'll let you talk about him. But he's well and truly in my team, one of my first picked.
Yeah, I think out of obviously all three of us are pretty keen on 3 gun fullbacks, and we all had different combinations, but I think Tom Trbojevic was a staple across all 3 of our teams, and that's for good reason.
He was the only one we all had.
Yeah, averages 89.5 at 4 Points Park since 2020, averages 78.6 away from 4 Points Park since 2022. And plays 5 of those first 7 at 4 Pines as well. It just grows another leg when he plays at Manly, and injury prone, sure, whatever. It's not fun not owning him. He can go off for whatever at any moment. He's always on the ball, always involved, and even on his worst day, he's still putting up 45, 50 points. So very happy to take the Trbojevic ride.
And when he's on Mattrix, he's touching the ball every second play. And as a non-owner, it's something you have to hide behind the couch to, keep your sanity if you don't own him, right?
There's not too many games I've watched where I haven't owned him in Supercoach. I'm a huge fan. I think it's conducive. I think, you can own some of these guys, and they don't play for great teams either. I can't remember a year where Manly's really missed the top 8. They've always just sort of been there and thereabouts, and it's probably been tied to Turbo's injuries, to be honest. So Turbo's great. I think that he's a lock as long as he's healthy, and anytime after a preseason, I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Do we have any concerns at all around Lehigh Hopewadi potentially finding a bench role to start the season? Is there any likelihood of that happening, Josh, in your eyes?
No, because we asked the same question 5 years ago at Ruben Garrick. We asked the same question 3 years ago about Tolo Kola. We're now asking the same question about Lehigh Hopewadi. It's in 3 years' time, who's the next Manly fullback that might take Turbo's spot? No, I've got no concerns.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page. Last one, Mattrix, is Pete Mamzelis, 36.9% owned, 302,000 hooker, not Sandon Smith type cash, but a little bit more expensive, but still definitely in that cheapy hooker range. It seems like people are going Sandon Smith and Mamzelis and just locking that in up top. Can you blame them?
No, I've done the same. I think he's performed well when he's played the minutes in the past. When you change coach, when there's a lot of moving parts in a team, opportunity knocks. And look, Pete was great when I saw him play last year. He's done enough at 300K for me to add him again this year. Am I worried that it's hard if he becomes a little bit of a flop to get him up to someone? Yeah, I am. But I think Sandon Smith's role enough. Pete Mamzelis is my hooker 2, not my hooker 1. So.
Yeah, fair. Anything to add there, Josh?
Pete Mamzelis also my hooker 2. I think his ownership will fluctuate massively both ways depending on Teamless Tuesday. If we see no Jamie Humphreys, I think this skyrockets. If we do see Jamie Humphreys, I think it could drop to probably 20% or so. If I do see Jamie Humphreys on the bench, I will probably just bite the bullet and pick up Owen Paddy again. He's left my side after preview, but if Mamzelis is playing 50 minutes or Owen Paddy's playing 35 minutes, I'd rather just take Owen Paddy and hope that he gets better minutes throughout the season. But yeah, Mamzelis, he's bided his time for a couple of years now. It's at Souths and he's done his apprenticeship, so good quality player there. But the beauty of that is there's so many other options. There's Blake Moser, there's Paddy, as we've said, there's Brendan Hands, there's Sandon Smith as well. So it's not like we're short on cheapy hookers this season if Teamless Tuesday doesn't go the way that we hope it does.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot riding on that. And I'm upset that you talked about Owen Paddy and not our boy Brendan Hands or Joey Lussick from Parramatta Eels 2024 fame. So, Brendan Hands, if we don't see Joey Lussick on the bench, could be a bolter as well.
Brendan Hands gets a mention. I'm currently looking at his beautiful profile as my hooker 1 right now. So he very much is in consideration.
Yeah, good. Okay. Very good. Guys, that's our thoughts on the top 10 most owned players. Plenty more thoughts coming publicly as well as behind closed doors on the Patreon. So if you want to become a Patreon member and get our thoughts and ask questions throughout the preseason, you can hit us up.